It's loading, but that usually means that we are already live, but it takes a moment. So I will check on my phone. Yes, we are.
We are live
again. Awesome. Hi, everyone on Facebook. We are live again here. Every Tuesday, I have the honor and privilege to have an outrageous love conversation with either Claire or Chahat. And this week, I'm here with Claire Molinard. And we are going to have a conversation about outrageous love and specifically about how to love ourselves. Let me turn this sound off. I'm hearing myself twice. How to love yourself. And it's kind of a cliche. It's kind of hot. I mean, you have to love yourself, but how do we actually do that?
Hi, Krista.
Hi,
Everyone.
Claire.
Thanks for having me here. So, how to love ourselves? And yes, and as you said, it's kind of a cliche. We all hear we have to love ourselves, and how do we do that? That's a very, very current question. So, how do we do that? How do we love ourselves?
But,
So,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, go ahead if you want to dive right in. Sure.
Yeah, no. If you actually have a direction, I'd rather have you because it's such a vast, I could start it anywhere. So if you had a particular thing you wanted me to address first, I'm fine.
I don't have one, but I can make one.
Okay, I thought you
Go
did.
ahead.
All right.
Go. Sorry.
So the first thing that comes to me is a distinction, actually. A distinction between self-love on a psychological level and what that means, and self-love on a spiritual level and what that means, because it's related, of course, and both are super important, and it's a different understanding of self-love. So I could answer your question broadly in saying psychologically self-love is to know yourself, and to know that, to be able to hold yourself in um, in your vulnerabilities, in your failings, in all the things that we don't love about ourselves, right? So self-love could be a way to hold your shadow and to still accept who you are, even if you're not as um, like you would like to be. That's a dimension of self-love.
Hmm.
And self-love could be taking care of yourself, and so even on a physical level, there's a self-love, loving your body, loving taking care of your body, eating well, uh, supporting your physiology. That's all part of self-love. What takes a whole other dimension is when we bring outrageous love in the picture, and then what does self-love mean? So that I'll just stop here now, and just hear. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, I totally love that distinction, and it resonates because I can sometimes feel like loving myself is doing the good things like you are naming, like eating healthy, doing this, but then it's also so easy to bash myself when I'm not doing those good things.
Mm-hmm.
So I love what you're saying, to also love the parts that feel unlovable. And the second part, the distinction between outrageous love, for me, I experience it when it comes from kind of a deeper level. And from that deeper self-love, all the other things kind of fall into place. Is that
Yeah.
also your experience or how you mean it?
Yeah. So self-love from an outrageous love perspective is more of to me, I experience it as a coming home
Mm.
to the love that is already here, that already holds me. So there's a sense of coming in and leaning back, right? Coming inside, in the inside, right? We have a saying in the Dharma which says love, its insides are lined with love. So I'm coming in and I realize that there is the whole the whole is love. That love is wherever I fall into her arms. And from that place, self-love is self-evident. I tap into the bigger hands that hold me all the time. So that's, I think that the source of self-love comes from that, as you beautifully said, right? That's the source of self-love. It has nothing to do with myself. It's so much bigger.
Mm,
And it is self-love.
yeah, so it's not an endless self improvement project. That's not what self love is.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So there's a movement, there's a leaning back and a sinking in to her arms, right? It's I experience it as almost as a somatic feeling of coming home and remembering
Mm. And what
what.
are the what if you we always forget, right? So how do you reconnect to that kind of self love, or if people have never experienced that, how can you taste it?
Mm,
Is there practice, or is there what do you do to have that deeper connection to love?
yeah. So the simplest practice could be to, at any moment, to use the breath, because the breath takes you home. The breath is always here, it's always available, and connecting with the breath already brings you home into the body. So taking a deep breath and softening inside anything that feels hard, softening your brows, softening your jaws, and sinking in. So we soften and we sink in, and letting gravity, the gravity of your breath into your deep belly find you, allowing anything that's moving, the thoughts, the sensations, the emotion, to follow that sinking movement of the breath. And breathing deeper into the belly, allowing everything to find its place lower inside. That's just a very, very simple way of coming home. And it's a beginning of self love. It's a beginning of because as long as we're caught up everywhere, our thoughts are, we're all over. So coming home so that that she can find you, right? If there's no one home, how is she gonna hold you? Or how are you gonna feel held? Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, I'm all quiet now. No, it's beautiful. Beautiful, and I can feel, yes,
Yeah,
how easily I'm out there and and trying to fix. This is also like the ego trying to love itself, like I'm going to make a list of plans of how to love myself better. And instead now there's actually nothing to do. We can just rest, and that's where love is.
right.
Mm.
And so now she can find you, or you can find her, because there's someone here. So this, a million times a day, because we forget, is a good place to start.
Mm.
Maybe not a million, but maybe 10 times during the day.
Yeah.
Oh, where am I?
Ah, yes. Yeah, it's so simple and it's so beautiful. Yeah, it's not simple at all actually, but yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's very simple, and the nature of we by nature it's when we need it most that we don't do it. We know it, so there needs to be a part of you that brings you, that decides you're going to
Yeah.
do the practice.
Yeah.
But then practice is actually, there's nothing to do. You're actually connect, and she does it. So it's not, that's a very distinct, that's a distinction, important distinction, because you decide you're going to do the breath and you're going to come home. But when you sink, then she finds you. It's
Mm.
not you getting something or going for something. It's actually, you allow yourself, you lean back and you sink in, and here she is. She's always here.
Hmm. And by she, for people who don't
Yeah.
relate
So
to it.
by she, so we talked about love, the field of love that's always already here. And so when you don't have the experience of being held in love, just doing this little simple exercise will bring you into a deeper place in yourself where if you let it happen, something will just, maybe it's just a very tiny, deeper space. So we let go of our expectation of what it should feel like. It always feels alive and it feels good.
Hmm.
It feels home. So it might be a very tiny step, a very tiny taste. It might be a full experience. It doesn't matter. The practice is to return home, to return, and to let it happen.
And why do you think there's, at least in me often, was so much resistance for love? I remember like 10 years ago, for the first time I went into therapy, I was like a little ball of hate and pain. And I was like this, my spikes were out, like nobody come near me. And I truly believed that I didn't want love. I didn't want anyone to come near me. Um, but of course I did want love. So how come we can, and that's a maybe big example, but why do we resist love so much if we need it so much?
We've been hurt.
That's simple.
We've been hurt and we don't want to be hurt again. Why do we get hard? Why do we resist it so much? Because it hurts. Love hurts. And to feel love, there's no other way than to open and to soften. And so we've all been soft and open, and we've all been hurt. So there needs to be a new experience, an experience of love without hurt, of love without of love and only love and nothing else, unconditional love, outrageous love, and that we can find. And that's what we're all looking for.
Hmm.
That's all we're looking for through our relationships. We're all looking for that experience.
Yeah. And I can imagine if you can feel this, or it's also my experience, if you can feel this outrageous love surrounding you, holding you all the time, then all of your relationships become more alive and
Yeah,
more loving and more free and more flowing, and because you feel held already.
we start to trust the flow of love that's already here. And of course, you say all the time, and my I don't know, maybe it's possible. I don't know if it's possible to feel it all the time as human beings. I certainly don't. And that's what we like. And
Mm-hmm.
that, and when there is a, so we learn to open and to and to allow for that love to flow through us more freely and to trust it. And by doing that, we become more fluid in outrageous love. The river flows more, more freely.
Yeah, I'm noticing, I can feel it as you're speaking about it. And there's a very, maybe today, maybe it's me, but like a tenderness to it. It's just flowing and tender, and just kind of energy. I just want to bathe in it, and then I don't know what to say. I have no
Mm.
words.
That's beautiful. I think what you're tapping into is probably that, the way she moves through me uniquely right now. So it's more of a unique self experience, I think, or it sounds like. this is what she's doing through us in this
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And then my mind thinks, well, I have to have the conversation going instead of
Oh,
this is actually it. Yeah.
for now it is.
Yeah. Beautiful. Hmm. So shall we leave it at this?
Yeah, if you don't, if I'm totally fine leaving it here for now.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you so
It's
much.
good. Yeah. Thank you so much, Claire, for this
And
tender
of course, I
self-love.
mean, this is such a vast topic, and we want to keep this short. So we'll
Yes.
just pick it up from here next time. Thank you, Krista.
Yes. Thank you, Claire. And thank you for you if you've been watching, and if you're watching the replay or just tuning in here, just scroll back to find this live stream, because we did a beautiful self-love practice, tapping into the field of outrageous love that is holding us always if we choose to feel it. So enjoy that practice, enjoy this tender energy that we've been sharing with you, and I will be back together with Chahat next week. Every Tuesday, we're here at 7 p.m. sharing about outrageous love. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Krista. Thank you, everyone.